Welcome to the introduction of my video series, where I will explore and define the human condition. Throughout this series, I will synthesize the insights of great thinkers, writers, philosophers, and psychologists to uncover a common pattern that shapes our existence, a pattern I call the human condition. I think that life is framed by the questions that we ask. We are all forced to ask them. We can ask shallow questions or deep questions, questions about cells and mitochondria, questions about stocks and bonds, or questions about life and death. But there are too many questions, and we don't have access to all the answers. So we have to adopt beliefs, paradigms, and worldviews in order to function in the world. We catch these paradigms like we catch a cold. It's completely unintentional. We adopt them as we are given them by our parents or by our friends or by society. I will call this the bubble. Being in the bubble is to have an unquestioned paradigm, worldview, or set of assumptions, to go with the flow. This bubble makes life feel purposeful and optimistic. We can make sense of things around us, and there's a sense of clarity and certainty. We've reduced our consciousness, but at the same time, we've reduced the infinite amount of possibilities to something that's manageable. In the bubble, we go with the flow, we take what we're given, and we go on with our lives, focusing our attention on what society deems to be immediate and practical. Many of us will go on and get jobs, go to college, attend university, and study a discipline. Each line of work or academic discipline revolves around certain sets of questions that drive inquiry and productivity. For example, in the study of business, the fundamental questions might be, what makes a company successful in a competitive market? Or how do economic principles shape business decisions? Or in healthcare, health professions, they might be, what causes diseases and how can they be prevented or treated? Or how does the human body function and how does it respond to medical intervention? However, none of these questions reveal the bubble that we are in. When we fail to ask the deeper questions, we are blinded to this bubble. We often neglect and prohibit ourselves from probing deeper. This can be very uncomfortable. When our belief systems or paradigms are called into question, we revolt and rebel. It can feel suffocating and we run back into the bubble. Our universities and learning institutions are primarily oriented towards occupational training and career preparation. This emphasis began in the 1920s and 30s when capitalism demanded a greater need for engineers, scientists, and other technical experts. Funding was geared towards what modern capitalist society labeled as practical and marketable. However, before this, universities were generally geared toward a different type of questioning. Traditional disciplines, such as philosophy, art, literature, history, mythology, and religion, were grasping at deep wisdom and self-understanding rather than technical productivity and specialized forms of labor. They asked questions such as, what does it mean to be human? How should we live? Why do we do the things that we do? What can we know and how? What is the meaning of life? Where do we find joy and fulfillment? While universities and colleges have retained some humanities courses and departments, it's been largely de-emphasized and reduced in our era, and so we all settle into the bubble. However, this more traditional approach to education was aimed at what they thought was the most immediate and complicated problem: ourselves, humanity. Being a humanities major, I began to study and read from the great thinkers of the past who revealed that this problem was much more expansive, immediate, and troubling than I ever thought. We will look at various thinkers, such as the ancient Greek philosophers Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. We'll look at Solon of Athens, at Sophocles. We'll look at more recent philosophers, such as Soren Kierkegaard, Friedrich Nietzsche, David Hume, Jean-Paul Sartre, C.S. Lewis. We'll look at colossal literary figures, such as Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Dante. We'll look at more recent public intellectuals, such as Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson. We'll look into the work of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. And we won't forget the biblical authors, such as King Solomon, St. Paul, John the Beloved, and Jesus of Nazareth. What I began to see in reading all of this was a common pattern and a common problem. This problem has been posed in countless ways, but its essence is the same. The purpose of this video series is to introduce, present, and explain my understanding of this overarching pattern, what we often refer to as the human condition. We will also explore the various solutions offered by these thinkers, philosophers, writers, and prophets. By no means is this a complete synthesis. Many more thinkers and ideas could be added, such as other literary figures, composers, psychologists, playwrights, and filmmakers who have all spoken to the same problem. But what I will be doing here is presenting my understanding of the human condition, the most fundamental problem that we face.